Oh. What? All right. I think we're there. I think we did it. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Are we there? Am I live? Think I'm live? Are we there? Am I here? Am I here? Think we're here? Why am I on YouTube? There we go. Now I'm live. Okay. I think I'm here. I don't know if you guys can see me or hear me. But if you can, thank you for joining us. Let me see here. Properties, that's tiny light. Okay. Are we here? Think I'm here. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hope you all can hear me okay. If it is your first time joining one of our streams, my name is Kylie. I am the R&D chef here at Candy Pros. And I am live on a bunch of different platforms right now. So if for some reason something's coming off a little wiki, just please let me know. Wherever your chat is, I'm going to try to keep an eye on all the chats. All right. Okay, guys, so we are here to answer any questions you have about gummy making. We're going to be making a few different batches of both of our gummy bases, one with our Naked Gold gelatin base, as well as with our Naked Gold pectin base. And let's see here. All righty, cool. So it is running up. I think we are going okay. I think we're working. I think everything's working. All right. So I have previously started melting down a batch of our Naked Gold gelatin base, which you can see over here in these pots that I've got over here. So I've got two pots running right now. I have some gelatin base melting down in this first one. I also have some water warming up for our pectin base as well. And I think we are going. I think it's working. All righty. I don't want top chat. I want all chat. Okay. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, cool. So let me do main and overhead and go back to main here. All right, so as you can see in this pot here, I have been melting down one of the batches of our gelatin base. We are going to flavor this one with our concentrated flavorings as well as coloring it with our food coloring. So we can go over ratios for that. Let me see here. I'm just checking to make sure we don't have any questions so far. But if you guys have any gummy questions or anything, please just throw them into chat and I will make sure to answer them for you. But we are going to be making our first batch of gelatin gummies first. All right. So I had emptied a bag of one of these into this double boiler over here on my left. I just wanted to get it melted down previously so we're not waiting around for that to melt as well as the pectin base. So when we are using our concentrated flavors as well as our concentrated colors, the ratios we recommend for our 5-pound bags are about 7 grams of our concentrated flavor and 10 to 15 drops of the color, depending on kind of what you're wanting to go for. So what I'm going to be making is a batch of watermelon gelatin gummies. I'm going to be using our watermelon flavor as well as just classic red coloring to do so. I have already measured out 7 grams of our concentrated watermelon flavor. And I'm just checking, making sure we don't have comments and questions anywhere. All right, cool. So this concentrated flavor is going to go in the pot as well as the concentrated color. We're going to do the flood and scrape and everything here together. Let me go ahead and get this out of my way. All righty. Looking good. Okay, cool. No questions yet. All right, guys. Let's go overhead only there, overhead there. Okay, so I'm going to be flavoring and coloring this batch of gelatin base that you can see on your screen here. So again, I've already pre-measured out the 7 grams of my watermelon flavor, which I will add here. And I don't want these to be so deep red like a cherry, so I'm going to be using 10 drops of our color. And there we go. All right. That's all nicely mixed in there. All right, let me get us back to our main here. Okay, so I will grab. This is the mold I'm going to be pouring it out onto. I haven't pre-treated these or anything like that. We're going to do everything together here. Let me see how if we've got anything from chat. Doesn't look like yet. That's okay. Alrighty, guys. So the only thing that I'm going to need to do to these molds ahead of time, these are nice and dry, I'm going to hit them with a spray of MCT oil. That's what I use as my release agent. And that is right down here. So I just have it in a spray bottle. I'm going to give it a light misting. Y'all see kind of how much I'm adding here. It's just a very fine light misting. Helps it release when I go to demold them. Alrighty, guys. Let's check the chats. We'll check the chats. See if anything's going on. Alrighty. Okay, guys, so I'm going to get this poured out onto our molds here. Okay, cool. All right, so again, this was our Naked Gold gelatin base that I flavored and colored as watermelon. Alrighty, let me get this put off to the side real quick. Okay. All right, now on my flood and scrape here, I'm just going to be heating up the edge of my metal scraper. The main reason I'm doing this is it helps make sure that none of the gummies are connected together with a fine layer at the top of the mold. So when I go to demold them, they're not all stuck together. All right. So what that does, it kind of helps create a nice clean edge on the top of the mold. So when you go to demold them, they're not all hung together with little pieces. But that's the whole reason that we like to use a metal scraper and heat it up. All right. So I'm just going to give it one final scrape over to make sure, everything is nicely flat and covered. And I will let this kind of come down to room temperature before throwing it into my fridge. Okay, let's go back to main here. Alrighty, guys. So, does anybody have any questions about what I just did there with completing the basic gelatin or pouring that out or anything like that? Alrighty. Live. Okay. Very cool then. Okay, guys, then we are also going to be making a batch of our pectin-based gummies as well. Let me go ahead. Like that. Perfect. Cool. All right, so in here, we're going to get this started, and then we can talk about a lot of other things because this needs to cook while we are going through the rest. All right, so I've added my water here. I'm going to let it come up to a boil. I will be adding in my pectin base, and this one we're going to flavor with some natural fruit powder. Okay, let's see here. I'm just checking our comments, making sure nobody's got any questions. Tell me the difference between both your gelatin gummy bases. I see you have 2 on your website. So we did reformulate our gelatin gummy base very recently. It now contains a little bit of pectin, which helps with the setting process and the shelf stability a little bit. And yeah, so that was based on, if you ever used our gelatin cubes that were pre-flavored, that was the formula we switched all of our other gelatin cubes over to. Does that make sense? And if I do answer your question and it comes in a little late, I apologize. Everything is kind of slow. I'm streaming to Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube right now, so it's kind of all a little delayed. so I am trying to answer them as quickly as they come in. My gelatin. So once they come back down to room temperature, I will be chilling them in a fridge overnight. I like to let them go overnight because I know that they're chilled all the way through. With the gelatin, you're probably going to want to give it about 8 hours at the very least. Once I demold them and sand them, I will allow them to cure at ambient room temperature overnight as well. I hope that answers your question, Smashley. All right, so let's see. Let's get this up to 10. Perfect. Okay. And then on the Facebook. Okay. Cool. Alrighty, guys. Once this starts to come up to a boil, I will be adding the base to it. Get this out of mine. Where's that red? That's also going to go out. Okay. All right, we're starting to get some bubbling action there. So, I will be adding in my pectin base. Our pectin base is our completely vegan option. The difference between the two is obviously this is going to use pectin as our gelling agent as opposed to gelatin. Pectin is a vegetable and fruit byproduct as opposed to gelatin, which is an animal byproduct. All right. Now, I just kind of like to shake it, make sure all the gummies get a little wet. It's just something I like to do. It isn't necessary. I just like seeing that they're all moist. All right, okay. What kind of temperature are you getting those up to when melting? Our gelatin is, I'm melting over a double boiler system. So what that's doing is boiling water below an upper pot so that upper pot is only cooking with steam. The gelatin melts at about 135 degrees. So that actually, I'm not looking for temperature on my gelatin one. What I'm looking for is complete dissolving, getting it to a complete liquid state. For the pectin ones, though, you can cook these to about 235 to 250 degrees. The variable there is the density that you want out of your gummy. I prefer about 245 degrees. Does that answer your question there, I hope? Alrighty, cool. Okay, so as this gets back up to temperature, I'm going to allow them to start to melt a little bit before hitting them with the stick blender. Alrighty. As that's coming up, if anybody else has any more questions, please just throw them into the different chats. I'll make sure to jump on them once I see them come through. Okay, let's see. Nothing there, nothing there. Hi, any tips on infusing with dry mushrooms? So like with dry mushroom powder, it tends to be pretty hydrophobic, so it doesn't want to fully incorporate into almost anything. It'll clump and things like that. Whenever you're using a powder that is that hydrophobic, I would use something like an MCT oil, warm it up a little bit, just a teeny amount, enough to get it into a slurry, and that will help it open up and move into the rest of your gummies. Does that make sense? Okay. We have also had some other questions about different things that have come through. For example, if you have gelatin gummies that are too hard or too dense, that can typically be tackled with adding extra water, just little bits. I would recommend, 1 to 3 grams per pound of gummies, just kind of slowly getting yourself to the point that you want it to be. Yeah, if the temperature is not as big of a deal for melting, why do I seem to have so much trouble when I pour them out and spread? They seem to gel up pretty fast. Is that on gelatin gummies? Demi K? Demi K? This? Okay, we're starting to have a little bit of melting action going on there, which is good. I am going to unplug my other hot plate. Oh, wrong hot plate. Wrong hot plate. Hello, the American family. Hi, Eva. Thank you for joining us today. We're making some gummy batches. We're answering all your gummy questions, going over whatever you guys are feeling like. Gelatin. Yeah, I'm wondering what would be that issue for you, because once the gelatin comes to a liquid state, it actually sets more slowly than something like the pectin base does. So I don't know what the issue you would have with them gelling up too fast. Does that just, do you mean like you go to scrape it and everything is sticking to the scraper? Is that what you mean? All right. Because if for some reason everything's sticking to the scraper and you can't actually pull the scraper through it, that's where I would very much recommend using some sort of heated metal scraper, like so. This is a heat gun where I heat up the edge. I also find great luck with something like an offset spatula. If I am doing like my stirring and things like that with the offset spatula, it gains heat, and that kind of helps me if I'm doing the scraping with the spatula. You just want to make sure that the scraping tool that you're using is at temperature with the gummies, or else it's going to start to solidify them as you push it through. Does that make sense? It looks like we are just about at that point where we can do our blending over here. All right, let's do it. All right, so once my pectin gummies start to, look like they're beginning to melt, they go clear, that's kind of what I'm looking for to know that I can hit them with my immersion blender. I'm just checking my chats, making sure everybody's got questions answered. Cool. All right. Cool. Now we are going to get these gummies blended up. So, yeah, the spatula is actually a very big factor in how well and clean your gummies come out of the molds. The hot scraping instrument is what's going to create that very nicely cut off top that's going to allow everything to come apart correctly. I apologize ahead of time, guys, for the sound of this blender. Let me get my camera back to me here. Where's my mouse? There we go. And we can go back to me. Okay, cool. Let's see. How much flavor and color do I need for a 5-pound bag? Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, for our 5-pound batches, we recommend 7 grams of our concentrated flavoring. We use Lorea, and then 10 to 15 drops of your color. The color is all dependent on what you want. I would say at least 7 grams for a 5-pound bag of flavor, just to make sure that that flavor pops through, the added acidity or sweetness in the gummy base itself. All right, let's see what else. Perfect. Okay, cool. I'm just going to make sure I get my thermometer in here on my pectin-based gummies. Again, guys, you could 235 to 250 or so is all a valid temperature range to pull off your pectin gummies. It's all just based on the density that you want in your final product. I take mine to about 245 degrees. Yeah, no worries. I am making a pectin gummy up here currently. All right. Okay, guys. So as that comes up to temperature, we're kind of just going to be hanging out. We can answer any gummy questions that you guys might have. Let me just keep making sure that I am checking all of the different chat streams. Yes, okay. All right. Let's see, what can we talk about? One of the things to be aware of, since we were talking about gelatin temperatures and things like that, gelatin will start to degrade at higher temperatures. For example, if you were to melt them directly into a pot without the double boiler, you would probably be adding too much temperature to it too quickly, and that will degrade the structure of the gelatin. And anytime gelatin gets hot enough to boil, it will no longer set. So I don't know if you guys have ever had gelatin gummies that looked nice after you demolded them. You set them out to cure and they start to kind of go flat. What that is you have denatured the gelatin itself. So you have most likely brought the gelatin up to too high of a temperature. If for some reason any of your gelatin gummies are ever going flat. Okay, I'm just checking all my chat streams here, making sure nobody's asking any questions that I haven't answered for them yet. All right, looking good. All right, so another question that we will get all the pretty commonly is after you demold your gummies, you sand them, you put them up to cure, and for some reason, those gummies have now become moist and gooey. They'll stick together in the bag or something like that. One of the big things to be aware of whenever you are sanding your gummies, if you're using more than just sugar, if you're adding an acid into it, that acid, whether it be citric or malic or lactic acid, whatever sort of acid you are adding into your coating, needs to be encapsulated. What that means is, here, let me show you. So this is encapsulated citric acid that I have here. And what the encapsulation actually means is each one of these little granules of citric acid, hold it up to the camera here, see if you can see it. Yeah, so each one of these little citric acid granules is actually coated in a very thin layer of wax. And so what that does is it doesn't allow the citric acid to come into contact with your gummy until it hits something that is at a higher temperature or gets crunched in your mouth. The big reason that that needs to happen is because citric acid is always going to want to leach liquid from wherever it is. And when it's on your gummies, it's going to pull the liquid out of the gummies, which creates those goo balls and things like that. So if you are ever getting those gooey gummies at the end, once you back them up and things like that, make sure that you're using encapsulated acid in your final sanding mix. It's very important. All right, let's check on our gummies. They are doing good. We are at 100 and getting just over 200 degrees currently. Okay, let's see how things are going. Let's check our questions. Hey, thank you so much, Susan. Yeah, encapsulated acid is very important. Okay, what's another thing? As that comes up, I want to go show you guys, give you a demo on how I demold gummies. Maybe you'll be able to find something in there that kind of helps you out. Okay, let's go to just main. Okay, let me grab a finished tray of gummies. All right, guys, so this is a batch of pectin gummies that I made yesterday. I did already go through and pull out all of my quite not fully molded gummies, just so that everything I demold, I know I'm going to be using. Let me show you here what I do to demold. All right, let's go down on this bad boy. Cool. All right, so I do have those tray of finished and solidified pectin gummies. And I'm going to be demolding them onto this larger tray. And I'm going to do that right on to some of my finishing sanding sugar. I also have a little bit of citric acid in here. And then one of the things that I like to do before jumping in on demolding these, with these molds, I like to give them a nice big stretch. What that does is just kind of help release things, makes it much easier to push out. And the other thing I'm going to do is take some of that sanding sugar and I'm going to throw it right on top to start. Just give myself one side of these gummies that I know is already going to not stick to anything. Okay. And I'm just going to go face down right onto this tray. And now, what this does is I can just demold these directly into my finishing sugar. Right. And then you can see as you kind of do this roll, they'll all kind of pop out. These ones are quite easy because they are a rather large gummy. Oh, I do have a few stuck together there. All right. Then I'm just going to go directly from here into a bowl with more sanding sugar. Those ones that are stuck together, I'm just going to pull apart real quick. Didn't quite get the scrape on about 6 of them. Alrighty. And especially when I am doing pectin gummies that I have just pulled from the freezer, I'm not going to quite take these out of the sanding bowl yet as they are still defrosting. And so I want to make sure that they come to room temp, and I'll give them one final toss, and then I will put them out on their tray to cure. All right, let me get this out of the way here real quick. Okay, let me check my chats, see if anybody, okay. How long is recommended cure pectin before dropping the sugar? I do it immediately. After I demold them, they go directly into the sugar. Yeah, our live will be saved. It'll be posted on YouTube. Because that is where we can host something long enough. Okay, let me see here. Let me get to my other questions. Yep, heating molds as well will help with that too. I just don't have an oven here. And, okay, let me check, go back on YouTube. Okay. Yes, I do measure the amounts of citric acid and malic acid into my mix. I'm using about 1 part acid to 10 parts sugar with my final finishing sugars. All right, guys, and now our pectin base is at about 230 degrees, so we're just about there. We are getting there. Let me go ahead. I'll put that back up on screen there so you guys can see it. And yeah, once we do have the live posted, we will make sure to post on the Facebook, on the Instagram, everything linking over to the YouTube for you guys. All right. Cool. Okay, guys. So for this batch of pectin gummies that I'm making, I want to show you how I do my naturally flavored and colored gummies. These ones are going to be a batch of my very favorites. This is naturally flavored passion fruit. And so I am using a freeze-dried passion fruit powder. That's what you can see in here. This is 1 ounce to the 5-pound bag of pectin gummies that I put in. What I'm going to do with this 1 ounce of freeze-dried powder is rehydrate it with a bit of water here, which I have right here. But I do want to talk about freeze-dried powders real quick. So one of the things to be aware of with these is they come in different strengths. That's what this 12-to-1 means. The higher the ratio, the stronger that flavored powder is going to be. So if you find powders that are, all blueberry or something like that, the higher the ratio, the more concentrated flavor is going to be in that powder. Oh, yeah. 12-1, perfect. Okay, so let me show you guys what I'm going to do with this powder here because we are at 230. 231. Cool. Alrighty, so again, all I'm going to be flavoring this batch of pectin gummies with is this passion fruit powder. That's all I'm going to be coloring it with as well. If I were to put this powder directly into the gummy base, it is going to clump. It's not going to properly disperse. So that's why I'm going to be rehydrating. I'm just going to be using a little bit of water here. And this is going to be variable depending on, the brand of powder that you're using, all sorts of things. But I'll show you kind of what I'm looking for at the end, like the viscosity of this powder. More still. I want to make sure everything is hydrated. I don't want little dry pockets of fruit powder. Those will never properly disperse into the gummies. Just a little bit. All right, guys, so I would say for the ounce of powder on this one, I probably used about not quite 3 ounces of water. I'll show you. I'm kind of looking for a nice fruity jelly consistency. That's what I'm going for. Okay, just making sure we don't have any other. All right, guys, so you can see him at 231. So we're going to give it a little bit longer. I'm trying to get closer to 245 on mine. That's what I prefer. Can you use the liquid flavorings that you sell in the pectin? No, you can use. We recommend using the liquid flavorings. This is just something that I like doing, and I wanted to make sure that you guys knew how to do. But the concentrated flavors are totally usable in the pectin and the gelatin interchangeably same ratios. All right, let's see. Getting close. 233. All right, let's take that there. I'll get my next molds. So I do have another set of molds that we are going to be pouring these pectin gummies out onto. So again, with these molds, I haven't treated them yet, so I just need to hit them with a little bit of MCT oil. There it is. Just a light misting there. Don't want to overdo it. The littlest bit will do. All right, let's see. All right, about 10 more degrees or so, guys. About 10 more degrees or so. How often will we be having these shows? We are going to be hosting these shows once a month. So third Wednesday of every month is going to be our office hours day. That'll be set. So every third Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be here live on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Hopefully right at 4 p.m. I had a little technical issues here today, but everything did get up and running, which is nice. Okay. All right, cool. Check our temp here. We've stalled a little bit. That means we're going to be rising pretty quickly soon. It's kind of how sugar and especially these pectin, this pectin base works. It's not so much a very gradual line of temperature. It kind of hops, plateaus. So keep an eye on it. It's not going to be a super gentle rise. It will kind of jump all over the place. Okay. So we're just waiting for our temperature to come up here. Let's take a look. Muffin, got that. Oh, Facebook is very behind the rest. That's okay. That's okay. Sorry, Facebook peoples, you're very behind the rest of the streams. Alrighty. Let's see here. So we probably have, 5-ish maybe minutes remaining on this cook, maybe a little longer. Any other questions that you guys have about your gummy making, gummy storing, anything like that, please let me know. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that you are all successful. All right, let's see. Getting close. We are getting close. Heck yeah. Okay, guys. We need about 5 more degrees there. Okay. My chats. All right. Okay. We're about 243. I think that'll be okay. Yeah. All right, guys. So, got it up to 243. Not quite 245, but that's okay. And I'm going to go overhead and overhead so you all can see as I add this passion fruit, real passion fruit, into that base there. I'm going to hit it with a whisk. Oh, it smells so good. So one of the things I'm trying not to do is scrape the bottom too much as I'm stirring this. I'm trying to kind of just hover right above the bottom. I don't want to create big trails where it creates a gap on the bottom of the pan to maybe create some sort of burning sensation. Sometimes that'll happen if you expose the open pan. All right. Goes in there. Let's get back to main, down. We'll go back to main. Here we go. Alrighty, guys. We're going to get this poured out. And so, I'm going to start by getting the edge of my scraper heated up. I kind of like doing it a little bit like that. There we go. Cool. Oof, smells so good. I love passion fruit. And so, again, that heated scraper, what it's doing is allowing me to create a nice tight pull against the top so that nothing's getting stuck together. When I go to demold later, hot. All right. Let's see here. Let's see here. Does anybody have any questions regarding how I finished up these passion fruit gummies or anything to that regard. Oh, gotta get myself back up here. Gotta be able to see myself. If anybody has any questions with those pectin gummies, please just let me know. All wrapped up right over there. And again, just like the gelatin ones, I'm going to allow them to come down to room temperature. Unlike the gelatin ones, I will be freezing the pectin base. I've just found that helps me with demolding and things like that, and freezing the pectin does not denature it like freezing the gelatin base would. If you ever put your poured out molded gelatin gummies in the freezer, you will pull them out and they'll go flat just like as if you boiled the gelatin. Pectin does not have that issue. Okay. Let's see here. For those of you guys that are here and hanging in chat, will you let me know, have you made our gelatin bases before or our pectin bases? Or are you here seeing them for the first time? Alrighty, cool. Well, I will hang here for a little while to answer any questions that anybody has that may pop up. We're going to be hanging. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got a display of both the gelatin and pectin base being made. Wanted to show you guys how I demolded things. But yeah, I am here to answer any other questions y'all may have. That's what our office hours are for. Pardon me, I gotta sneeze. Lost my mouse again. Okay, nothing on Facebook. All right, guys. So yeah, we're just kind of hanging. Of course. Oh, thank you. Thanks, Jerome. And if there's anything you'd like us to see, us, what's the word I'm looking for? Demonstrate. If there's anything like you'd like to see us demonstrate on future streams, let us know here. This was our first one ever. We're kind of just feeling it out, figuring out how best to support all of you guys and make sure that all of you are successful in your candy making. Yeah, all right, cool. Well, I hope it goes really well, Queen Mary. And if for some reason you hit any issues, I'm always here to chat. You can contact me directly through email. It's Kylie@candypros.com. I also have a direct phone line. I wish I could flash it up on the screen. I don't actually have any graphics set up, but I'll say it here nice and open so you guys can see. My direct line, if you ever have any gummy issues, is 619-393-5303. And that is my direct desk line. I can help you troubleshoot any issues you have in your journey. Thank you, Queen Mary. All right, guys, yeah, we're just going to kind of hang out together here for a bit. See if anybody jumps in with any questions. I know I had begun to explain the difference between pectin and gelatin earlier, but if we can kind of drill down into that a little bit more. Your gelatin-based gummy is kind of the classic gummy you always have known. Haribo bears, Albanese bears, whatever. All of those are typically gelatin-based. Gelatin is an animal byproduct. It's, you know, if you are making a stock or a soup, kind of that gelatinous stickiness that you can get from boiling down connective tissue and bones and things like that. It is very squishy, very chewy, and very much your classic gummy style. While pectin is a completely vegan option instead of gelatin. Pectin is found in lots of fruits and vegetables. You can find it in high quantities in things like apple skins. It is what actually thickens up things like jams and jellies. So it is just using classic fruit derivative or vegetable derivative to create that gummy texture as opposed to gelatin. We offer both. We want to make sure both are available to you guys. They do have different benefits to each other. Obviously, the pectin one is completely vegan, while gelatin will be more reminiscent of that classic chewy gummy that everybody knows. I really like our pectin one. I think our pectin base is awesome. And really made me a believer in the pectin base. Is it hard to fill a whole mold with the flood and scrape method? I've never seen anybody do it. I wouldn't say it's hard. Just when you're doing the flood and scrape method, if you were to put the exact amount you need onto your molds, it is kind of hard to fill every last one. So if you were going to be, if the goal was completely full flood and scrape, you will have lots of run over on the sides of your molds, but that's totally fine. Any gummy that doesn't get into a mold can be remelted and put back into a mold. It's just about, do you want to overdo it or underdo it? Does that make sense? For example, like my molds, so you saw what 5 pounds looks like on the 2 molds that I had out here. The molds that I use can take a little over 7.5 pounds of gummy base, but filling it today wasn't as much a priority for me as showing you guys the actual technique. But it is totally doable. You will just probably have excess runoff. Does that make sense? It's more about the putting enough volume onto it than anything else there. Completely doable? And in which case, if I was doing something like that, I would probably put a single mold onto a sheet tray so that it's much easier to clean up the excess than kind of have a completely full sheet a completely full sheet tray with the molds. Man, I'm stumbling over my words. I use gelatin, slab, molds, and a cup. We like to try pectin and pour with as little waste as possible. That is not true. You can melt down the pectin actually in a microwave. It's great. Like, for example, let me show you here. So we have our pectin base that I just poured out. Once this were to set and cool, what I do is I'll actually go through, grab all the ones that didn't get filled properly, and I'll put them all into a microwave safe container. Like so. Once I just put those into the container, I melt it back down in the microwave, pour it out, and it is indistinguishable from the burst point. So pectin is completely thermoreversible. That's actually not a word I don't think I've ever said, but I have definitely talked around it many times in kitchens. Oh, good enough. But yeah, there's no issue to that. Gelatin can be melted down again too. I recommend using the double boiler to melt down gelatin. You can also do it in a microwave. It's just much more temperamental and you can easily overdo it. But with the pectin, what I do is I will take a microwave safe container, fill it not quite to halfway. I don't want to go above halfway because what I'm trying to do is bring it up to a full boil again, and I don't want it to boil over inside the microwave. Does that make sense? But until you add citric acid onto your pectin gummies, they are completely reusable. Adding the citric acid will cause the pectin to seize sometimes. Acid will react with that pectin in weird ways. So if you've already sanded the gummies, I wouldn't melt them down again as pectin. But you know, if you were to pull them out prior to getting them sanded, they are totally usable. Does that track for you? Checking my chats here. Then on the Facebook. So essentially, when I am making my pectin gummies, I virtually have no waste because everything that isn't a completely full mold will get pulled out and melted back down and re-poured. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, keep it checking. Yeah, and if there's any other questions you guys have, I'm here, I'm hanging. We'll be here for a little while longer, making sure that anything that comes up, we can answer for you. And again, guys, if for some reason things are delayed, everything's kind of streaming to multiple places, so that's why some of the delays are coming through. What's recommended cure time before bagging the pectin? So the pectin, I'm going to freeze overnight. I will demold it, and I will allow curing to happen again overnight. That can be, push forward a little bit. That all depends on the humidity where you're curing it, the amount of airflow in that curing area, a bunch of different things. I recommend overnight just to be safe. Yeah. So pour, scrape, cool down, then freeze overnight. Correct. So I will, after these come down to room temp, the reason I'm waiting for room temperature is because if I were to throw these into the freezer directly before letting them get a real good chance to steam off, it's just going to add moisture into your freezer, which isn't something that you want. But yeah, I will allow these to freeze. Once they're frozen, they're super easy to demold. They'll go into their sugar or whatever I'm finishing in them in, and then I'll allow them to cure at that point overnight at room temp with airflow around them. And that's okay. It's okay. That's why we're having these streams, to make sure that you guys have all the info you need to be as successful as possible. Yeah, so when freezing overnight, that is done inside the molds. It is the curing that is done at room temperature once you have sanded them, after they're frozen. And you don't need to wait to freeze overnight. Sometimes those, depending on your freezer, things like that, the pectin will probably set in the freezer within about 4 to 6 hours. So it's not quite overnight for your freezer portion. The curing, though, I would recommend that overnight. Yeah, of course, you're very welcome. And again, guys, we will be having a recording of this live up on our YouTube. We will make sure to post that everywhere so you guys can see everything in case you missed some parts. But I'll be hanging here for about another 15 minutes or so at least. Well, frozen gummies cause the sugar mix to melt while curing to room temp. That is not an issue that I've ever had. You would think, however, you are cooking out most of the water out of the pectin base before you're freezing it. So it would seem like that's going to happen, but it actually doesn't. And that's one of the big reasons that I like to leave the pectin gummies in my sanding bowl until they come back to room temperatures, just so I can keep tossing them. The only thing you would see is maybe it's not quite sticking properly if they're, still weeping a little bit or something like that. But you can see these are the ones that I pulled out earlier today on stream and demolded. And I'll keep them in there until they come down to room temp, basically. But no, I've not had any of my sugar mix melt. I don't have them stick together. I just like making sure that they have lots of sugar on the outside. That's why I like to keep them in there. But yeah, guys, we will hang here at least for another 15 minutes. I want to make sure that we give a 90-minute stream so people have a chance to jump in. Again, apologies for starting a little late today. I had some major computer issues. Everything worked fine when I tested this morning. And then, of course, when I go to hit live today, everything froze. So thanks so much for sticking with me, guys, and coming and hanging out. We'll be here till, again, another 15 minutes or so. Make sure we hit about a 90-minute period on this stream. Make sure everybody gets a chance to jump in with questions if they have any. For the gelatin base, any tips on pouring? One of the big things with the gelatin base, I also will heat that scraper. That helps me really get the nice scrape there. As far as getting it poured out, what I will do with my double boiler is I won't set it to a full boil. I'll set my temperature to like 160, 170 degrees, just enough where it can create some evaporation on that water inside, and really allow that gelatin to come to a really beautiful liquid state. So if you check the beginning of this stream once we have it up, you'll see the gelatin I poured out. It looks almost, is slightly more viscous than water coming out. So it might be that you're pouring a little too early. That would probably be my guess. Or using a heated scraper is a really big help with gelatin as well. And again, that's whether it's a heated bench scraper, which is what I was using earlier. So whether you're using a bench scraper with a heat gun, that's a great way to do it. Or if you have something like an offset spatula, a thin, flat metal that you can scrape with. If you are using this to scrape out the inside of the bowl or to stir your gummies with, this will retain heat as well. And I found that this does do good if it's been warmed in the gelatin too. But making sure that your scraper is warm is a great help with that. How can I make the gummy in the mold in my pectin recipe to pop off the molds? Okay, so best tip I can give you for demolding your pectin is to do it while it's frozen. They will pop right out. They don't have to give to them when you're using while they're frozen. I would recommend that. Go from the freezer right into your demolding. What causes sweating? Sweating is probably from not cooking out enough of the water in your pectin mix. If you are cooking out enough water to get them to properly set, you won't have that sweating. And what I believe is letting them dry or heat cure from the bottom. The pectin is completely reusable as long as you haven't already added some sort of citric acid sanding to it. Citric acid will seize pectin. So that will be an issue if you try to reuse it. However, if it's just like unsanded gummies that didn't fill a mold or something like that, I put them into a microwave safe container, not more than halfway up, make sure it has a handle because it gets really hot. And I will just blast it in the microwave for about a minute at a time until it comes back down to a nice liquid state. And you can use it again. Does that help out snitch free? Yeah, you're very welcome, Slauson. And again, if you have any issues, you can always give me a ring and we can talk through it together on a phone. Perfect. I'm glad. Let me show you, Slauson. So this was the gelatin batch that we did at the start of the stream. So you can see it's very nicely scraped and everything like that. More than anything, it's going to be that heated scraper that'll probably cause a giant difference for you. Would you say, what would you say for a perfect curing temp? Heat curing is better than average. I've never done any heat curing. For me, the biggest portion of curing is about airflow. I do all of my curing at room temperature on my speed rack here. And my speed rack does have a mesh netting on it to keep bugs out and things like that, but allows for airflow. I don't do any heat curing. I wouldn't recommend it, but what percentage is recommended for gelatin in a batch? Our base just has all of the gelatin. Everything's already set. You don't actually have to add gelatin or pectin to that base. As for starting from scratch, I wouldn't know offhand, to be honest. You're very welcome, Slauson. I have made taffy in the past. And what would I say about what part of it? Please do more lives or even classes. Yeah, this is going to be a regular thing once a month at the very least. So every third Wednesday of the month is going to be our office hours day. I also do some streams where I make gummies and we sell some small batch gummies over on Whatnot. If you check out Whatnot or Candy Pros on there, will typically be a stream on Tuesdays or Thursdays. But yeah, this is something that we're starting new. So yeah, it will be a regular thing. At least once a month we're going to be doing this. So yeah. And maybe we'll drill down into some more specific kind of like curriculum learning. We'll figure it out. We're trying something new here. So I'm glad it's working out for you. Okay, let's see. What percentage is, let's see, tips and tricks, pulling tips, such as making perfect taffy. I mean, I can just tell you what my pastry chefs told me. The biggest tip is go further than you think on your pulls. That's it. Pull more than you think you need to. It's always worth the effort. Aside from that, I don't really have a bunch of tips. I mean, we did it on a hook, and it was just wear yourself out and then keep going. Let's see. Will you be doing hard candy tutorials? Yes, eventually, because we do the hard candy basis. So that will be into the loop. If not our next one, definitely by the June show, we'll add the hard candy making into it. If not, May. So that'll be definitely a goal, and it will be something we're going to fold in here for sure. 100%. And sorry, guys, if for some reason it seems like I'm answering a question that you don't see, we're streaming to 3 different places right now. We're live on our Facebook group, we're live on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm kind of pulling questions from different places, so I'm sorry if it seems a little disjointed. Yeah, of course, Lawson. Don't worry, we're gonna make you a Candy Pro. It's in the name, right here. All righty. Oh, all right, guys. If you have any last minute questions, let's get them into chat. We'll probably be wrapping up here in the next couple minutes. But thank you so much for spending your time here with me. Again, guys, we're going to be doing this once a month. It'll be the third Wednesday in each month. 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you're tuning in, put it in your calendars. We'll be sending out blasts to all you guys so you know that they're coming up. Okay, let's end that one first. Okay. All righty then, guys. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Thanks for sitting through the technical issues that we had. This whole live will be posted onto our YouTube channel. We'll make sure to blast that out on all the socials so you guys can see it start to finish. And if you have any questions that pop up in the meantime, again, I can always be reached at email at Kiley, K-I-L-E-Y, at candypros.com, or by phone at 619-393-5303. That's my direct line, and I can help you troubleshoot anything you've got. So again, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and we'll see you soon. Bye!